everyone. I am Matt Williamson. We are into June now. Beautiful day. I just got done mowing the lawn outside. Still sweating, chatting with you guys. So I teased this earlier in the week that Pro Football Focus has been putting out their player lists. We're going to switch over to defense. We're going to start with corners. And they rank 32 at the position. And Joey Porter Jr. comes in last. Well, he comes in 32nd. He comes ahead of everyone else but 31 players. I think that's way too low, but I understand he only started basically 12 games in his career, and he's still a puppy. And we talked a lot about it on the Mailbag show yesterday. What he was asked to do was a lot more difficult than the average corner and maybe any other corner in the league. But this is what PFF had to say about Porter. Porter concludes the list as he turned in an excellent rookie season for the Steelers in 2023. His coverage grades took a hit the last few weeks of the season, but he was still preventing separation at a high level. He allowed just one touchdown pass and just 0.76 yards per cover snap in 2023. Exceptional numbers. Anyone that does lists this time of year, and trust me, it's list season, and I've done this, is probably going to need a bigger body of work when you say how good is a player. Like Witherspoon, the corner for Seattle, only came in a couple spots higher than Porter. He also had a great season. I would take those two over a lot of the guys listed ahead of them. So I get it. I need to see a little more before I start ranking them with the big dogs. So what, but I also came up with these coverage numbers, which I don't believe coverage numbers are set in stone, chiseled, but you get the idea. He lined up in press, which to me, well, not to me, it is the hardest, most important thing out there for corners and receivers. Receivers that can't beat press don't make it in the league. Corners that can press make it in the league. So he played 876 snaps, played press in 227 of them. That probably doesn't mean a lot to you. It's about a quarter. It's a lot. It's a high percentage. I mean, about a quarter of his snaps, higher actually, what am I talking about, were in press man coverage. That's a big, big number. That goes back to the fact that he is asked to do more than the average bear. So on those 227 snaps in press, he allowed 17 catches on 37 press targets for 7.6 yards per catch, 5 explosive plays, no touchdown, and 1 interception. It's really, really good. You're not going to pitch no hitters in press against Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase. You know what I mean? That's just not going to happen. But he did really, really well in what is the hardest thing and most important and rarest thing to do in corners. So that goes back to our conversation yesterday about him being asked to follow, him being asked to play man against the best players on the other team, but he's also playing press too, which takes it up another level. Press corners are gold. Think about near the goal line, red zone, all the RPO stuff. If you can press, you take away RPOs. All the quick hitters you see today, press is a lot harder to deal with, so he's a really, really good he's an exceptional prospect. He's already a really good player. He's got a chance to be a great player. BetOnline is your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NBA, and NHL playoffs. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's keep it here in the secondary. Their safety ranks. As you would imagine, the Steelers only had one in their top 32, and of course, that's Minkah Fitzpatrick. Comes in 4th. I think he's the best safety on the planet right now. That being said, I am not going to fight them on 4th today. I mean, by his immense standards, he had somewhat of a down year. Any way you cut it, big plays, their grades, whatever. Here's what they say about him. Injuries in 2023 slowed Fitzpatrick, who missed multiple games and had a down year overall. While his run defense grade still finished above 80, which is awesome. People don't give him enough credit as a run defender. Fitzpatrick earned a coverage grade below 70 for just a second time in the past 5 seasons, while logging a career low 625 snaps, including the postseason. He was banged up a lot. And taking the ball away is a little bit sticky year to year, but sometimes you need some bounces and some tip balls and some stuff to go your way. So he comes in 4th, which I still think shows what a great player he is and how much people understand his impact on the game. He came in behind Antoine Winfield Jr. of the Bucs, who just became the highest paid defensive back, not just safety, ever. And he's a do-it-all great player. The dreaded Ravens Kyle Hamilton, who you don't want to hear this, but he is awesome. I think Hamilton and Fitzpatrick and Winfield are the best 3 on the planet right now. Hamilton's also 6'4", and can be a tight end eraser and be near the line of scrimmage. And then Bates, Jesse Bates, the former Bengal who went to the Falcons for big money, deep middle center fielder, not as versatile as Minkah, but he and Minkah to me are easily the best 2 deep middle guys, which is hard to find. I mean, that is somewhat of a lost art from when I was a kid and Ed Reed and even Earl Thomas and those guys. You don't see a lot of pure deep center field middle guys. And Minkah does it as well as anyone, as does Bates. So Minkah at 4 doesn't break my heart. And along those lines, Cam Heyward, amongst all interior defensive linemen, comes in 5th. And my only note on that is respect. He was, Walter Payton Man of the Year. The league, people in the know, respect Cam Heyward. He was not the 5th best defensive tackle interior D lineman in the league last year. Here's what they say. Heyward, one of the few remaining players from the outstanding 2011 draft class, is still playing outstanding football for the Steelers. Injury caused him to miss some time in 2023, but in the 4 seasons before that, he was averaging a PFF overall grade above 90, which is a monster number. At 35, Heyward is still a force to be reckoned with until he walks away. They could have been a little harsher on him and said he was not close to the impact player last year that he has been for those 4 seasons before that when he was one of the top 5. So, as we talked about in terms of X factors, if he can get back to being, I know PFF grades aren't the end-all be-all, but a 90-ish type player, an 85-ish type player next year, that's a massive X factor for the team. And yeah, he's behind guys like Chris Jones and Quinnen Williams. And frankly, I can't remember a time in NFL history, even though Aaron Donald just retired, that there were more outstanding interior D linemen. And to have Heyward 5, to me, just screams respect. You guys are going to think the opposite in terms of respect, with TJ Watt coming in 4th amongst all edge defenders. And I get it. And a handful of you really disliked that I said Myles Garrett is better than Watt. And I do believe that. By a hair. I mean, if I have to pick who influences a game more, who's better at what they do, I will take Myles Garrett over any defensive player in the league. But I very much believe that edge defenders has an elite tier with Watt and Garrett, Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, and now Max Crosby. Max Crosby would be 5th on that list for me, but I don't know who number 6 is. So I'm putting Max with the top dogs. He's a wrecking machine. And those were their top 5. Crosby also came in 5. So the 3 names I mentioned were ahead of Watt. But again, we're all splitting hairs here. These are elite players in a really difficult position. And Watt is absolutely in that category. I still think, I've said this 1,000 times on here, even though I think Garrett's a slightly better player. And I have read your comments. He hasn't done much against Steelers. Steelers beat him. Watt has more wins against Garrett than Garrett does against Watt. Very true. But I urge you, and I know you won't, go watch every snap of Myles Garrett. You'll have a great respect for him. He's an animal. But this podcast is not about Myles Garrett. Watt led the NFL in sacks in 2023 and placed 4th in pass rush grade for the PFF. His 16.2 pass rush win rate puts him 4th on this list, but he's still in tier 1 for consistent one-on-one success. Awesome. Now, unlike Crosby and those other 3, I think it hurts Watt, and this is something I'm saying in his favor. I don't hate Watt, folks. that he only lines up on the quarterback's right side. The other guys all move. I'm not saying that's a problem with the Steelers' D, but they're the only one that has an elite edge rusher that doesn't move them all around. And maybe that's TJ saying, remember he wanted to switch from right to left. Obviously, he's more comfortable there. Obviously, he's insanely productive there. So maybe he doesn't want to move, but I bet he'd even be more productive if you found some really soft left tackles on the schedule and let him line up there more. So the other teams do that, and occasionally some of their guys will even bump inside. Watt doesn't do that. And one thing, this will sound negative, but it really isn't. Compared to the other tier 1 guys, when Watt wins a pass rush rep, it's almost always to the outside shoulder of a tackle. Nothing wrong with that. I just don't know that he has a wide array of pass rush moves, so don't take this wrong. But he doesn't win in as many ways as those guys. But he's also kind of like that pitcher that throws 102 and can scream, hey, I'm throwing the fastball, but you can't catch it. I mean, even the greatest right tackles in the league get beat their outside shoulder against Watt. And he's better in coverage than those guys. That has a minor implication for me here. He's great at swatting passes. I think he's the best in the league at causing fumbles. So, I mean, again, we're splitting hairs here. Don't get mad at me. All right. His partner in crime, Alex Highsmith, also ended up in the top 32. And I think this is a very proper spot for him. He's 19th overall amongst all edge defenders in the entire league. And basically you start 64 of them around the league. He comes in 19th. And I think that's dead on. And doesn't get that kind of credit around here that he deserves. He's a high quality starter. TJ Watt isn't the only edge rusher of note on the Steelers' defensive line. Highsmith earned an elite 90.2 overall grade in 2023 with an 85.9 pass rush grade. Both those are really, really high, folks. His 18.1% pass rush win rate and 69 total pressures were both career highs, and he has 21.5 sacks over the last 2 years. And he's good against the run, and maybe he's improving. I know his numbers 2 years ago were better than his numbers last year, but I think his tape was equal, if not better. So he's a really good player. He's not just a compliment to Watt, but boy, they're a tandem that is really, really impressive. Match that with Heyward and maybe a Benton and sprinkle in some Ogunjobi and a little bit of Herbig here and there. You're cooking with gas, and especially with, better on the second level at linebacker too. Front seven's really good, one of the best in the league. Those are the ranks. We can fight about them all you want. Leave me some comments. Tell me how I adore Myles Garrett and hate TJ Watt. All those good things. But no, honestly, your guys' comments are all very positive for the most part. Trust me, when you write for ESPN for 10 years and you read their comments, they're not quite as kind. All right, take care.